Welcome back to the Ratline. Another phone call in the night awaits us before the next case. Hello darkness, my old friend. I found the 3 chiefs, the cobra, the hyena, the scorpion. Was it hard, Mr. Perlman? I've had harder matzo balls in my soup, so I'll be getting my reward. Flowers, a plaque perhaps. Unfortunately, your only reward will be anonymous satisfaction. Okay, so they're not paying us then. You're arresting these people though? I don't see anything in the papers. We will. In time. They serve other purposes though. Yep, something's fishy about this entire arrangement. Like what? That is beyond your jurisdiction. I mean, I could maybe understand them trying to use those people to get to the bigger fish. But what's the bigger fish then? Okay, I've been thinking. We're done here. I'm done. You only have a little further to go. This is the most important. We need you to go deep into the Hoffman network. Yes, the Hoffman network is returning because they're, in theory, the smugglers. Why is that important? The Hoffmans are involved in more than just making money and people smuggling. They have designs on the highest levels of power. How so? There was a journalist seeking to expose the Hoffman conspiracy. His name was Rainer Wilson. He was killed 3 days ago. You want me to find out who killed him? Precisely. The Hoffmans have shares in a company called Red Rock Oil. There's a bill going through the Texas Senate that promises to bring them untold riches if it goes through. What's the problem here? The bill is being blocked by some rebel politicians. One of them was found dead. Apparently suicide. You suspect otherwise. We suspect foul play. All of this leads back to the Hoffmans. Finally, we believe that some of these fugitives have been supported by global actors beyond the Hoffmans. Okay, so yes, big global conspiracy about not just, war criminals hiding in South America to live out their lives in peace, but actually trying to change things and shift power to benefit themselves. For real, beyond numerous South American governments and the Catholic Church? Yes, finally there is the matter of who killed Bishop Tura. Hang on, I thought you did. We did not say that. We said that we encountered him on the night he died. The murder had already taken place. The killer is at large. Oh boy. Sleep well, Mr. Perlman. You are the one who can make the difference. More information about the larger conspiracy then, as we go into case 7, the conversation. As previously, they send us no evidence, just the note, but before we get there we have a new tutorial. Open Sonitron. Click on the Sonitron box on your desk to open it. You can find more information how to use it in the glossary. Okay, this thing. The Sonitron is a system that records conversations. You can listen to this conversation using a receiver by dialing the correct numbers into the receiver. Every system may have different codes for dialing, however, the following is the most common. System number, example 100, room, example 05, participants, example 1121. So the final dialing code would be 105 1121. Some systems may use the default system with all participants named 1, 2 for each room. Finding a Sonitron conversation may also require related various media. The Sonitron system has since been phased out due to a complete lack of practicality and possibly being cursed. For all technical inquiries, please type help. That is another investigation game. I have not played that one yet because of the whole there is a Steam remake coming, so I'm waiting for that. But I presume this is just a little reference and that's where it ends. We're not actually typing help anywhere and doing anything like that. Okay, so before we can use this thing, we have to therefore identify what we're listening to. We have to identify the various bits of information to put together the dialing code. Yes, so right now, there's nothing to dial. Well, let's read our mission introduction, maybe that will help. Mr. Perlman, a special case for you. We have received word of a murder in the West German embassy in Cairo, somehow related to your work. The journalist, Rainer Wilson, was found dead in the ambassador's study. We need to find the killer. Our sources also indicate a selection of ambassador's private contacts were leaked. Thus, we have reason to believe there's also a traitorous spy, a mole. You will need to use the Sonitron system. It's a voice-activated transcription system. We have put a receiver on your desk. You will need to find the embassy floor plan. Try the following number to get you started. There are 7 conversations in total. System room person ascending. Okay, so it tells us it's 10405 and then the various participants numbers. So there's actually 3 participants in the first case, and the second one, it doesn't tell us the second participant. But from that, we therefore know that the embassy system number is 104. So for other things from the embassy, that's what we're gonna use. I'm sure you can work out the rest. You can find a lot of documents by searching the term embassy. Okay, so that's in our library, I assume. Yes, so we have embassy floor plan, which is what they mentioned, because I guess that's how we get rooms, right? So it tells us what's what. Like, ambassador is room 3, ballroom 2, media room 7, weapons room, break room, waiting room, locker room. Okay, so that's on the ground floor. We also have reverse floor plan. Because we can flip this document, or we can just find the reverse through the library. So we have code system, 1 diplomatic staff, 2 security staff, 3 media staff, 4 administrative staff, 9 guests. Addended codes 1-9 are assigned lowest first according to seniority. Example 11 is most senior diplomat. Okay, so it's gonna be, fortunately for them, for the system, it's like they only have up to 9 people under each staff group. But yes, we will be able to put things together from this. And we also have embassy sign-in and weapons. So it's a sign-in sheet for various people. Yes, we have Rainer Wilson coming in to this embassy, which is the missing or the killed journalist. And then we have people checking out weapons, because there was a weapon storage. I assume that means they're working like security or something like that, right? They're not just handing out weapons to random people at the embassy. Well, that's a useful search. And I guess we can try out the Sonitron with the number they gave us here, right? So this is the number that they gave us on this sheet from what they told us here, right, before we start listening. So it's in the embassy in room 05, so the break room, and the people involved is someone from media staff, and again, having number 1 after the 3 means that they're the most senior media person, the most senior person from the administrative staff, and then the 1 person below them from administrative as well. So let's see what they got to say. Conversation 3 o'clock to 3:05. 42, so that's the second seniority administrative person. Did you see the sandstorm on the news? Apparently it stretches all the way to Giza. I didn't. Is that correct? Cigarette. So this is the most senior media person? Oh, I can't. I'm trying to stop. Though honestly, how anyone does it, I don't know. What is that? Monarch? No, Sterling. Only Rudy smokes Monarchs. Disgusting stuff. Okay, so they're talking about cigarette brands. Oh, Wolfgang, you're so rude. What does the ambassador smoke? I'm not sure. I think it's some sort of herbal. It's dreadful, isn't it? Absolutely. Have you seen Rudy about today? I saw him in the corridor 30 minutes ago, bringing in the ambassador's laundry. Light blue suits him. The ambassador likes him, doesn't he? Ha. I have no idea what you're saying. People are complex, aren't they? I know. I was working in my room this morning, door open. I could hear a panicked phone call from the room opposite. Oh yes? Do tell. Oh, just bits and pieces. Something like, G had a bad day. Strange. Gosh, people are odd, aren't they? Muffled voices in the other room. They've been at it a while in there, haven't they? Talking. Well, I'm glad the ambassador agreed to a sit down. Him and his smelly cigarettes. Glass really doesn't like Wilson at all, does he? More coffee? Sure, I'll get it. More muffled voices raised. Okay, so this is them during the ambassador meeting with the journalist. Oh, raised voices. Getting a little testy, are we? I really don't think... Okay, this is an unknown person. I can prove it. Loud gunshot. What was that? It sounded like something went off in there. Where's security? Abdul and U are on patrol. Do you have the code? I don't. No, I don't. Hang on a second. I know a way. Then we have running footsteps. I assume they're panicking, right? Because they don't know who's shooting who. Use this. It's Rudy's. It also works. Okay, they're trying to get to the weapons. Door opening. Oh my goodness. Oh, he's dead. Where's Glass? Did he jump out? Running footsteps. Oh shit. Wolf, how did you get my card? It was in your locker. It was? So, yeah, we're gonna have to be putting together who was saying what on this call and when. Like, it feels like 31 and 42 are the two main speaker, even though 41 is also named as a speaker in this conversation. But he only comes in at the end where he says, oh shit, Wolf, how did you get my card? And they say, use this, it's Rudy's, right? So that's a card of Rudy. So that kind of gives us the clue that 41 is somewhat called Rudy. And then he talks back to 31. He says, Wolf, how did you get my card? So that gives us some clues about their identities. I'm gonna have to write a lot of things down, I think, so we don't get lost with this. They also talk about Abdul and Uwe being on patrol, so they're potentially security personnel. And actually, earlier on, 42 refers to 31 as Wolfgang, right? Later it's just Wolf, but the whole name is Wolfgang. We have Glass doesn't really like Wilson at all, so Wilson is the journalist, but Glass is unspecified. Although after the whole commotion happens, they say, where's Glass? Did he jump out? So if the journalist was talking to the ambassador, that could be his name? Well, unless he was meeting someone else. So I'm gonna write down the name, but not yet decide who that person is. I mean, mainly because they talk about the ambassador saying the ambassador and then randomly talk about Glass, so that feels like they would call him one thing instead of like changing in between. Okay, and then we have a picture from the murder scene. Okay, so I guess the card was for the door because I was like, oh, they're trying to get into maybe the weapons to defend themselves, but no, considering there is a key code lock and like a card reader, so potentially it's more like they were trying to get into the room where the meeting is happening because it's otherwise closed, and yes, the window's open, so someone could have escaped from there, assuming they open a room and there's just the dead person and no one with them. So he's dead, there's a gun next to him, and he's alone. So that's the journalist. Looking at the plan, right? The way the rooms are marked, especially the doorways are marked. Specifically, the ambassador's office has a door marked with lock, and then going to the locker room is also locked, right? So that would be the one place that does have a locking door. And also like, because like ballroom has double doors, and then every room on this side, on this wall, break room, weapons room, media room, they don't have any windows, while the other rooms on the other side do. So it does seem like they were in the ambassador's room. And yes, it even says locked with keycard at the bottom here. So yes, even further going into, that's this room. On this piece of paper, we do have Abdul and Uwe marked as people who are checking out weapons. So further confirms they are like the security staff. And then Wilhelm Glass actually also checks out a pistol, which, I mean, the murder seems to be committed with the pistol. I guess we can complete people's names based on this, right? Because we have Wolf Bracker, which I assume is gonna be Wolfgang, full name, and then Rudy, probably Rudolf Kinski. And then Abdul and Uwe are likely security because of the whole weapon situation and being on patrol, so their codes would start with 2, but we don't know the seniority yet. And then Wolf Bracker is therefore the most senior media staff because his code was 3-1, and Rudolf Kinski is most senior administrative staff because it's 41. So the other code they partially give us is 104, which is the embassy, in room number 3, which is the ambassador's room. And then person 11, which would be the most senior diplomat, which means they would be the ambassador talking to someone else. I was hoping that the room they would give us could maybe tell us who the other person might be, right? Like if he was in like a media room, we would know we're looking for a media person, but no, it's someone coming to the ambassador's room and talking with him. So there is a code for guests, right? They start with 1. I mean, and then they also have a number based on seniority. Do you grade your guests? And if we're saying this is the sign-in sheet from the day, we know Rainer Wilson is a guest, so he would also be assigned a code, right? It's not just for the people that work there. So can we assume he's just like the only guest? I mean, we know everyone until Claudia, she's not been mentioned in any way. Everyone until Claudia, we're pretty sure works here, which means as far as we know, there was at most 2 guests if she's also a guest. So if this extra conversation is basically what is happening in the ambassador's office, while the other people are waiting outside and hearing things. This would be a conversation with a guest, so potentially 91 or 92. There we go. Yes, so at the same time as the other one. 91. So that's the journalist. We're going to have to discuss it. I'd really rather not. And then 11 is the ambassador. No, I think it's important. Why is that? Are we just gonna have this roundabout conversation and never actually find out what's going on? People should know the truth. You are out for blood. I'm not. You are. I can prove it. I really don't think I can prove it. Sounds loud crack. Yes, very like, oh, I know what you're doing. No, you don't. I know. No, you don't. Suck. And then loud crack. What could that be? Him pulling out the gun or something? Okay, we do get a picture as well from the weapons room. So we can see that 2 rifles are checked out. And then a pistol with a silencer is checked out. Would you just store it like that? And then 2 pistols, no silencers are still there. The pistol that is on the floor when this man is dead does not have a silencer, but that does not preclude it from being this pistol, right? Because that's a removable part, as far as I know. So yes, remember always sign in and out, which we've seen the sign-in sheets. It's like 10 past 10 on this clock, so it's not the time the conversations happen. That just tells us, you know, this is the time by which the guns are not there. Which, from this sheet, we know that the pistol was taken out at 10. So that seems to align with, at least the one that's missing here is the one that's been signed out. And we know that it's July. Okay, but from there, where are we going, right? Because that's all the initial conversation hints are there. We can make some assumptions, right? We know there are multiple people that are like administrative staff because we've seen 41 and 42. So we could maybe have like some guesses about those 2 could be talking to each other. But then where does the admin staff spend their time, right? Because like media people have their own room, but there isn't like an administrative staff room. They could be in the weapons room or something like that. The 2 suspected security staff, they do check out their weapons at the same time, so there might be a conversation between them inside of the weapons room, right? That's something we may be able to listen to. So they would be in 06, which is weapons room, and then their codes could be 21 and 22. Okay, that takes us somewhere, and yes, that's at 9 o'clock when they check out their weapons. Right, let's prepare. Can you please sign out the 2 weapons? Sure, just add your signature. Where's your tie? I can't find it, I'm afraid. Alright, do without it for the moment. We'll start in the west quadrant today. I want you watching the top. I'll be at the bottom. No problem, sir. I don't need to remind you, but we've got to be tight. Global embassies are on high alert since that business at the palace in Lemuria. You mean when the guy... Stop it, people might be listening. Sure thing, boss. What happened in Lemuria? I'm going to need to leave you for a while. I have some escorting to do. The journalist? Yes, I have to greet him shortly at the entrance, introduce him to Mr. Glass there. Media might join too. Okay, so 21 at the entrance with Mr. Glass, which I'm further suspecting into that he's the ambassador then. And media might join too, so we have 1 media person, currently 31. So I assume that's our lead to the next conversation to listen to. Ah yes, media, odd guy, saw him poking around in the break room earlier. Okay, so when they say media, he immediately knows that it is an odd guy, so it would suggest that there's just 1 media person. Also saw him poking around in the break room earlier, so that may be something. What was he up to? Looking for something in his locker? Why is the ambassador going ahead with this interview? Beyond my pay grade. I imagine it's because he thinks it makes him look better. Still, an investigative journalist? Watch yourself. Not our business. We need to watch out for the sandstorm coming in. How's the water system? It's good. You cut yourself? Just a small nick. Been going down to the horses in Cairo much? A bit. You like a bet, don't you? Ha, yeah, got to admit. Winning much? I have my ups and downs. Okay, this is immediately suspicious because yes, someone potentially gambling and of course not winning much, right? He's not boasting like, yeah, I get a lot. He's like, I have my up and down. Is potentially exposed to being manipulated by external forces, right? You have debts from gambling. Immediately people can exploit that. What was that horse you liked? The one that came in last? He was called Geronimo, but die for him. Do you bet? There was something earlier on in that conversation saying, gee, you had a bad day, so that might be what that was about. No, I'm not a fool. Right then, move on out. Take your break at 11 today. Give me one of those, what are they? Jetliner. I really wish the machine had more brands. Is that more cigarettes, maybe? They keep talking about those. Because they were like, oh, everyone is smoking something. That's a bunch of bits and pieces from here that may be able to take us further. So we have this thing, which looks very media. Okay, so they have this listening device here. Is it because they are using it? Or is it because they don't know what it is and it's actually just listening on them? Or is it because the media guy is associated with whoever is doing the spying, so he lets that be in there? And then we have sound effects from westerns. That's an interesting thing because that could be used to fake something, right? You could play a sound effect of gunshots, people screaming, something like that, and make that sound like something's happening. Something is behind here. This just says compressor, maybe? Yes. Quite interesting, the sound effects. How will that come back into this case? Okay, so my next thing from that conversation was that the ambassador was meeting the journalist in the entrance, which I assume might be the waiting room. And the top security guy had to be there, and the media guy may have joined. So it would be 104 for the embassy, then 04 for the entrance. The ambassador would be 11, the guest journalist 91. 21 for the top security guard, and then 31 for the top media guy. A busy meeting. Nope, that's not it. Not sure if my assumption is here incorrect or like there has to be a specific order. Is it that I have to do them like in ascending order? So it would be 104 for the embassy as normal, then 04 for the room, but then they're in the order of their numbering. So the ambassador comes first, then the top security guard, then the media guy, and then the guest at the end, because that's the highest number. Okay, yes, that's how that works. So that's at 12 when the guest arrives. If you just put all your belongings in the tray, I can have a look at them. This is normal in the Cairo embassy. I mean, I would assume it's normal anywhere that they check your stuff. Standard procedure. Can't be too careful. That's a beautiful pocket square, by the way. Thanks. Got it down at the market. Oxblood, red satin. Ah, Mr. Wilson. Good to meet you. How are you? That's the ambassador speaking now. Fine. Flight was a little bumpy, so we'll be doing the interview soon. Absolutely. Later this afternoon. Actually, I have a few engagements. That's a bit of a problem, actually. I was hoping sooner. You'll be fine. You can take in the surroundings. Abdul and Uwe can show you around. Sir, we're on patrol. Okay, that's the security guard chiming in. All right then. We'll find something else for you. I hear there's a sandstorm coming soon. I expect it's just a dust devil. Nothing to be worried about. What else are you working on? Investigative work, corrupt food and drink suppliers. Oh, really? Do tell. I can't say too much, but there are some hidden secrets I'll be bringing to light. I'll submit very soon. Oh, excellent. Here's Wolf. This man needs a bit of entertainment. Excellent. I believe he may want to see our archives, being a journalist and all. So that's the media guy jumping in. Great idea. Although it might be damp down there. So take precautions. I'll leave you to it. Abdul? Sir. Okay, so they went to the archives, which, considering how they say it might be damp down there, it might be in the basement because that was named on the map. So yes, he arrived at 12, but the meeting didn't happen until 3 o'clock. So there was a gap. Okay, this is the locker room. So we have like Euro Soccer 1970, another sign out sheet, and the cigarettes. People have been talking about them. Again, it's 10 past 10 again on this picture. So 2 people smoking in the locker room. because they were all talking about like, I smoke this, he smokes that, right? That's disgusting, whatever. I assume somehow this comes to play. Like we see those 2 cigarettes and we're supposed to be like, make the connection on who was in here, and that's how we listen to this conversation. But right now the cigarettes were only like named. Is there a way for us to know which is which? There is a code for the basement though, because I was like, oh, they just go to the basement, but no, there's actually basement 08. So we should be able to listen to the media guy and the guest in the basement. So 08 for the basement, then media guy goes first, guest goes second. There we go. 12:30 in the basement. This is the archives. We've got all sorts of files. Perhaps you'd like to take a look. So yes, this is the media guy of Wolfgang Bracker, and he's going to be talking to Rainer Wilson. I'd be happy to. What do you do? Media, I put together all the press materials. Unusual for an embassy to have a press office. I'm new here. Only been a few weeks. Your accent. You're French? German? Yes? Yes, spot on. I come from the Alsace region. You know, I've been to that region quite a bit with my work. Interesting work? Oh, really very boring. I've been looking into a family called the Hoffmans. Not many people know them. Never heard of them. What does your family do? They own a cafe. Is it with the Hoffmans? One I've heard of? Possibly. Run by my uncle. Name of Giroux. I see. This is quite interesting, actually. Okay, so that's the conversation. Like, we don't get to see what they were talking about in the archives. And I assume this is the embassy staff and this is the journalist, right? Because they were talking about his pocket square being red, and I think that it aligns with who we saw on the floor, right? And I think from just the case brief, we know it's the journalist that's been killed. Other than that, I mean, makes sense maybe that the middleman here is the ambassador, and then guy without tie is the lower security guy, and he's also got a band-aid, so I assume that's back to the conversation about, oh, you've got an injury. And that's probably the more senior security guy, because they're basically dressed the same. They've got like dress codes. So we've got this guy, which might be the media guy standing here. This, I presume, is Carol from the signing sheet. Oh no, it's Claudia from the signing sheet. And this is one of... I guess he might be one guy from administrative, and she's also from administrative, because we would add up with there being 2 of them. But yes, so we have to identify basically who killed the journalist and who the mole is that's leaking information. I mean... Currently, my bet is on the lower down security guard because of his gambling issues, but that's just my suspicion from hearing a conversation rather than any evidence that this place brings us. The other thing I wrote down from a previous conversation was that Wolfgang was alone in the break room, the media guy. So is there a recording from there of just him? No, there isn't. I mean, it's not really a conversation, right? If he's just alone in there. Although weirdly enough, it's like, saw him poking around in the break room earlier, but then he's talking about looking for something in his locker, right? Which is like, is he in the break room or is he in the locker room? Let's just check. Okay, no, nothing in the locker room either. I assume this is the picture of the locker room, so yes, we have to work out who the 2 people smoking were in order to find a conversation there. Because yes, like, the system doesn't have an account for different times, so if the same people are speaking in the same room, then how would you file that, right? Because the code would be the same. A brief dip to the Hoffman corporate structure from case 3, just to see whether this... yeah, exactly. The guy was saying, oh, my family is like running a cafe, and the name is Giroux. And in the Hoffman Enterprises, a tiny table in Paris is run by Raymond Giroux, which means the media guy is related to someone working for Hoffman Enterprises. And we know that the Hoffman Enterprise structure has been used to hide the fugitives. So he's likely one of them. He's receiving services from the Hoffman family to hide him. So the reason that's interesting, because obviously it feels like, oh, did the ambassador kill the journalist? Because he was like, oh, whatever you're going to publish, it was going to expose me. But while they're in their archives, the journalist gives away that he's investigating the Hoffmans. And if the media guy knows that his family member is being hidden by them, that would be like, okay, I can't let this journalist publish that other story, right? Because it directly exposes my family member and possibly his own links to all of that situation. So Wolfgang is getting suspicious. So I've been looking through the various conversation just to see like the cigarette brand, see where that leads anywhere. Right now it doesn't, but brings me back to the G had a bad day. Because it specifically mentions, I was working in my room this morning, door open, I could hear panic phone call from the room opposite, right? That's where he hears that, which means this is probably something we can listen to. So it would be, of course, in the embassy. The media guy was saying he heard that while he was working, right? He's 31. Yes, so he's saying that. So opposite his room would be the ballroom. And then the person speaking, if we're talking about G had a bad day, that must be the security guard, right? The one that does betting. And that's 22. That's the lower down security guy. There we go. So that happened at 11. Hi, Hans. Sorry, I've got to keep my voice down. There are other people in the building. He's calling someone called Hans. Interesting. Yeah, well, I know I owe it, don't I? Yeah, again, gambling debts. We can't hear what the other person's saying, but we just have to work it out. I know Harry's angry, don't I? G had a bad day. Otherwise, I would have killed. Yes, exactly. It's like, oh yeah, if just one more bet, I should be able to do this. I'm going to make it right. Don't worry. I've got something that will pay for everything. Like leaking information. This morning, before he was in. I promise you, no one will know. Just wait. So that's been added. So that implies that he's taken something before someone else was in the office. So we know that both the security guards come in at the same time, 8:15, and then they check out their weapons at 9. But that means there is time before like the ambassador arrives. If we're saying like he stole something from the ambassador, like the contact list that is linked to the whole mall situation. He had time to do that, right? He had time to take something from the ambassador before he was in. Yes, because ambassador's private contacts were leaked. So yeah, he's quite suspicious. Now I'm just like, which of the security guard is which? Because they're mentioned as Abdul and Uwe, but then here in this conversation in the lobby, at the very end, the ambassador says, I will leave it to you, Abdul, and he says, sir, which means we know 21 is Abdul, and that leaves 22 to be Uwe. So I think he's the mole. So I'm just gonna put this here for now, just to mark my suspicions. I presume he's still in Cairo, but he may have fled or something. Now, it's one of those guys here because of this whole, you don't have your tie. Yes, 21 says, where's your tie? I can't find it, I'm afraid. Right, so 22 Uwe is the guy without the tie. So he goes here. Again, my presumption is that he's doing it because of the gambling situation. Like, my current best pick for the killer is the media guy because of the Hoffman link, but with 5 evidence pieces remaining, I'm not yet betting on it. We've not been in the library for a bit, like we got the embassy situation from there. But what else could we grab from the library? Potentially the cigarettes? Like, does that get us anywhere? Because obviously now we have the visuals for the cigarettes, so the different color bands, they might get us somewhere. So we know 3 names. One of them is Monarch. There we go. Cigarette machine advert. Yes, the library is basically like a catch-all for missing some visuals. Here we go. Perfect. So, 1 machine award of flavor. Okay, because yeah, they talk about having a machine that doesn't offer more choices. Make your next smoke break, a taste of safari, Monarch, Copperleaf, Jetliners. There you go. So that's almost all of the ones that were named, other than like Copperleaf is new. I want to point out, for the purpose of this video, I definitely do not advise any smoking, regardless of what the cigarette companies say about it making you experience or live a certain way. Smoking's bad for you. But yes, that does lead us to the different cigarettes have different bands. And so we know the Monarchs are red, and we know that Rudy smokes red, and then Copperleaf is green. This is the new one we haven't yet named. Jetliner's blue. We know that one of the security guards was smoking that and then offering him to the other one. So either one of those two could have left a blue one. And then Sterling is for Wolfgang, the media guy. And in this locker room, we have a red and a green. So it's Rudy with the Monarchs. And then when it comes to the green one, yes, they talk about what does the ambassador smoke? They say, I'm not sure, I think some sort of herbal. It's dreadful, isn't it? So yes, a green and a red would therefore be the ambassador, and that's in the locker room. So we get our device out. Again, I assume it's the locker room, so 01, unlike the break room, because there was like talk about the break room and looking into lockers, but if this doesn't work, then we can just go to break room. So then 11 for the ambassador, and then 41 for Rudy, who smokes Monarchs. That's at 2:15, so after the journalist has arrived, but before the meeting with the ambassador. So the ambassador, 11, how's your work going? And 41 is the top admin staff, Rudy Rudolph Kinski. It's okay, I'm up the stairs. Only problem was I couldn't find my spare uniform. The lighter one, do you think it's being washed? Perhaps, but it's not the day for it. Plus, it was clean, no stains or anything. Okay, so somehow the uniform for the administrative guy went missing. Strange, did you go in my room to clean it, by the way? No, why? It's nothing. It was just a bit messy when I came in this morning. The Rolodex was at funny angle. One of the adhesive dividers was missing. Strange. Okay, that references the fact that yes, someone went into his room, and by now we suspect it was the security guy, Uwe, and took his things, took his contacts. No idea. I couldn't get in without my card. Well, in future, use the code. It's 0910. I assume he couldn't get in without his card because his uniform went missing and the card was in there. That's why he's later surprised that they're able to open the office with the card because it wasn't in his locker and then it gets returned. Oh, excellent. Who's the guy on Bracker's locker over there? You don't know him? It's Jared Schimmel, the soccer player. Surely you must know him. He's a hero. I have one too. Okay, so they're talking about the locker content, and yes, there is a picture of a footballer in there, I think. He seems familiar. Did he used to have a mustache? Yes, he shaved it off. Very touchy subject. So, do you think we can sneak out of here for a while, Rudy darling? Rudy darling. Perhaps. The storm is coming in though. Do you think we can be back in time? We can keep it brief. A quick little thing. Shouldn't be more than an hour. How can we get out? Let's take my office window. We can't close it from the outside. I'll close it later. Yes, we can come in the back door. Oh, what a thrill. Love you. Okay. That reveals that whole other conversation that was happening with, oh yeah, the ambassador really likes Rudy, right? What's up with that? Well. That's what's up with that. Okay, so there's a picture from some sort of room, laundry place. Yes, there is the footballer with a mustache here. An ID card and some sort of swipe card on the floor, and the red handkerchief pocket square in the laundry. So I think the picture that is forming is that someone stole Rudy's uniform and potentially, or Uwe stole Rudy's uniform access card in order to break into the office. So then the Rudy couldn't find it. So I presume this is Rudy here in this picture. And he says, I couldn't find my spare uniform, the lighter one. So presumably it might be like hidden here. Another reference to like uniform color. Yes, when the conversation happens here. I saw him in the corridor 30 minutes ago bringing in the ambassador's laundry. Light blue suits him. It's like a reference to the lighter suit, right? The lighter uniform. But here he says, I couldn't find my spare uniform. And he says, the ambassador says the lighter one. So when this person says, I saw him in the corridor, I saw Rudy in the corridor 30 minutes ago, it is a possibility that it wasn't Rudy, it was someone else wearing Rudy's uniform, and the person just like had a glance at the uniform and was like, oh yeah, that's him. But then it would have to be a similar guy, which again, this guy in the corner, right? We're going back to man with black hair, right? Those two guys here. If this is Rudy here, and then this is the other tall man with black hair. Yes, if he wore his uniform and you saw him from the back, you know, the height seems to align, general skin color and haircut seems to align. So you could be like, based on the clothes, I think that it's this guy, even though it was another guy. And again, if this is media guy, we're back to the suspicion of he had a reason to kill the journalist because he's linked to the Hoffman family. So that's what I'm putting together so far, but it's still not all of the evidence. So we have the footballer situation, right? Because there is the poster in the locker. So who's the guy in Bracker's locker? Bracker is the media guy, 31, who, again, I'm suspecting of being the killer right now. And there's that whole thing about the mustache, that the footballer has a mustache in this other picture that I assume Rudy has. This is like kind of his workstation because he, like, it said he was doing laundry and stuff like that. So that might be it. Like, are they trying to hint us towards the fact that one of them has a mustache, one of them doesn't, right? So even if one of them was dressed as the other, the mustache is the difference. Okay, so 7 conversations in total. We've got 7. So we're done listening to people. We're done with that, but 3 pieces of evidence remain, which means they're not through the listening machine, they're through either calling someone, although it doesn't seem too relevant into this case, unless we can call that place where the Giroux guy works. Let me actually pin that. So he works at the Latini table. Not sure if it's in a Rolodex. It is not, so we can't call and spook him, probably for the best. So is there more library lookups? So the only other text things that we can potentially go by, I can see in this materials, is the reels in the media office. So let's see if that has anything in the library. Okay, world focus transcription is a thing. World focus transcription, Rainer Wilson Dean Lamb. Interesting, because that's the journalist that's been killed. Lamb. You've been involved for some years in journalism focused on restorative justice. Can we talk about that? Wilson. Of course. It is the duty of the journalist to uncover the truth. People should know the truth. That's the job. Lamb. You have focused in recent years on Nazis who escaped justice. How has that gone for you? Wilson. It's an area people would rather not talk about, but of course we're going to have to discuss it. This is our history, in many cases our present. I think it's important that we look hard at ourselves. Lamb. Could you share an example? Wilson. I really don't think I can. Lamb. Go on. Wilson. I think you are. Wilson. So there is a very rich industrialist family that I am investigating that I believe benefited from the regime but has done more so since. Lamb. Like what? Wilson. Well, here the situation gets a bit dicey. I must be very careful what I say. Okay, so we don't really get into too many details, but just further confirms that he was talking about tracking the family, obviously the Hoffmans, but not named here. And therefore, if the media guy was listening to that, he's like, this guy is getting too close to the truth. Okay, is viewpoint also something we can see? Yes. Viewpoint description, Simon Williams, Wilhelm Glass. So Wilhelm Glass, I think by now confirmed the ambassador. Like, we've gone through the whole cast of characters and that must be him. Williams, I'd like to talk about allegation of corruption in the German government. Glass, must we? Williams, I think it's an important issue. Glass, but why is that? I'd really rather not. Williams, some would say that you have been complicit in guarding these individuals. Glass, that's a hell of an allegation. Some of those people would say that it's a hatchet job and you are out for blood. How do you answer that? Williams, well, I am not. Glass, I think you are. Williams, how about the allegations you accepted bribes from Cairo officials? Glass, no, that's not true. I can prove that's not true. I can prove it. Now, what is jumping out at me here, let me just take this down for a little bit, is certain phrases that are said in those transcriptions. Like, we're reading the transcriptions from the library, but the media guy had the tapes. Is the conversation that we get from listening to the ambassador's office when he's supposedly talking to the guest, Rainer Wilson, especially that when they go into the office after the shooting happens, they go, where's Glass? As if he's disappeared, right? He's jumped out of the window because the window's open, but we now also know that the window can be opened because he was sneaking out with Rudy, right? Like, he just didn't close the window yet. So yes, the way this conversation is like the super unhelpful back and forth. We see things like the ambassador saying you are out for blood, which is the same thing he says in his interview with Simon Williams, right? You are out for blood. And then it's things like, I can prove it, I can prove it. And then for what the journalist says, it's like, no, I think it's important. And then here it says, I think it's important, right? So there are like little bits and pieces, right? Wilson says, I really don't think I can, but here says, I really don't think cut off. So it does feel like this conversation in the ambassador's office is basically just snippets of previous things that were recorded from the two people, which would align with a bigger story of the ambassador isn't actually there for this meeting. The ambassador has snuck out with his lover and they got caught up because of whatever. Like I think this is sand on the ground, so like the sandstorm went through and because the window was open, the sand got in or something like that. And then he didn't come back to close the window, right? So when they come in here, it's like, where's the ambassador? Where's Glass? Like, did he jump out? Yeah, where's Glass? Did he jump out? Stuff like that. He wasn't actually in the room at the time, right? He doesn't even know what's going on in here. Someone else kills the journalist. It is stated here that the ambassador checks out the pistol, but it might just be that he checks it out and keeps it in his office, in case something happens. But he may have left it there when he snuck out once again. Anyway, one more piece of evidence, I think. Well, I mean, let's give the Western sound effects a try since the other two tapes were something to look up. Yes, Western sound effects. So we have firearms of various things, revolver gunshot, gun cocking, tension before a confrontation, which I think there is a sound of something, reloading bullets, movements, animals, environment, right? So he got some sort of library of sounds and then could produce something that sounds like a conversation because he has the whole media deck with additional sound effects to make it seem as if there was a conversation and a shooting happened. I've been going along with it of like, yes, the media guy, because he's linked to the Hoffmans, I think that he's been doing this. Separately from this guy being the mole and stealing from the ambassador. That's I don't think the two are working together. They just both happen to be involved in something. So I think this is him. This is the media guy. His name is Wolfgang Bracker, or Wolf as they call him. And I guess everyone is still located in Cairo, right? There is no implication that they've ran off or relocated or anything, right? This is fresh as it happened, and obviously he potentially thinks he got away with his deception, and he doesn't think anyone is on the track of him stealing those things. Like, potentially, if the murder didn't happen, no one would have noticed as much that he stole the information. So let's give this a check. There we go. To whom it might concern. I have identified both the killer and the mole. Both are in Cairo. Uwe Richter is the mole, seemingly being highly indebted and looking to extricate himself from loan sharks. The killer is Wolf Bracker, the media officer at the embassy. Bracker was motivated to kill journalist Rainer Wilson to protect his family. His uncle is Raymond Giroux, owner of a Hoffman business, The Tiny Table. To do so, first he spliced together two speeches to resemble a conversation between Wilson and Ambassador Glass. He also stole the overalls and card of janitor Rudolf Kinski. On the morning of the murder, he signed out a silenced pistol, forging the ambassador's signature. Oh, I was probably supposed to compare the handwriting in the two pieces of evidence, so I've missed that bit. He took Wilson to the basement where he executed them, puncturing a pipe in the process. Okay, so I also did not really get into that in my explanation. I was just like, oh yeah, he killed him somewhere and left him in that office. He then donned Kinski's uniform and fake mustache. He transported Wilson to the ambassador's room in the laundry cart. Yes, that aligns with this whole... The other person thought they saw Rudy in the corridor delivering laundry, but it was Wolf. Having deposited the journalist and the weapon, he hid the silencer in his room. Yes, the silencer was missing. Dumped the cart and mustache. Finally, he put Kinski's wet uniform back in his locker. Finally, he played back the speech over the speaker so people would think that Wilson and Glass were conversing while Bracker was with Claudia Meyer in the break room, giving him an alibi and framing Glass. Okay, so I guess a miss from me was that, I mean, the signatures look fairly similar, but I guess the A is different. Like if we go here, the way the real Wilhelm Glass spells glass, the A is round, and then Wolf Bracken, he writes the A, lowercase a, the same way as you would capital A, just smaller. And yeah, there's that detail repeated in the signature. So missed that. And then in here, like, yes, the laundry card with the pockets where I saw that, the ID, the card, all of that. But yeah, I guess I assumed the posters were from the footballer just from different pictures, but no, this is actually the fake mustache he was wearing while pretending to be Rudy. And yeah, that's the bullet hole. I was just like, oh yeah, leaky basement. But that's the story altogether of what happened at the embassy. And yes, things are coming back to the Hoffmans, so I think they might potentially be part of the end game in this game. But we will have to get into the following cases to see how they pan out. So if you enjoyed this one, consider liking or subscribing. Thank you to channel members for supporting the channel. And I will see you soon on another adventure.